Heart is where the Hriday of the Sadharanikaran is coming from, as I wish to see it. Emotions and heart, as Vivekananda also pointed out, Hindu philosophers also pointed out, is something that has been central to the humanistic tradition of the Hindu philosophy and Hindu philosophical tradition. And I would wish to say is the idea of body, heart and mind. And I think this is the center, the heart is the center which has been absent from all the Eurocentric or other philosophies around the world. Hindu philosophy is at the center of how Asians think, they have been thinking, and there is this gathering today which proves that, we are all moving in that direction to establish that thinking in the mainstream discourse, public discourse, as I would wish to call it. Decoloniality has, I think, influenced everybody in all walks of life, especially education.
We now invite Dr. Shuchi Yadav, Chairperson of the Center for Media Studies, JNU, for her remarks.
Dr. Yadav is a Chairperson and Associate Professor at the Center for Media Studies, School of Social Science, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. With over 20 years of experience in teaching and media industry, she has significantly contributed to the fields of media studies from the perspectives of decoloniality and Indian philosophical thoughts. She completed her PhD from JNU and has extensive experience of working in the media, including CNN, IBN, Network 18 Group, Sahara India Television Network, and Observer Group of Publication. She has co-authored the book, The Role of Media in Contemporary Scenario, and has published several articles in prestigious research journals such as The Social Scientist, Studies in People's History, The Communicator, and the Journal of Psychological Researches. Her recent publications include research articles on the topics like new media and museums in India, women's and sports films in Bollywood, social media practices in Northeast, and political communication. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody. It was rather a long introduction. With being amongst this august gathering of professors like K.K. Agarwal ji and the chairperson here, and also Professor Nirmal Adhikari, who is the star today, I would say. Taking a leaf from the keynote address, as he pointed out, can the Asians think? I would want to say Asians have always been thinking, and Asians have made their mark, not today, but in 18th century, when Swami Vivekananda took over the stage and called everybody, called out to the world from that stage, only to say that there is brand India and Hindu philosophy is at the center of how Asians think, they have been thinking, and there is this gathering today which proves that, we are all moving in that direction to establish that thinking in the mainstream discourse, public discourse, as I would wish to call it. Decoloniality has, I think, influenced everybody in all walks of life, especially education. And needless to say, it was part of the organized, institutionalized way of how colonial powers have been working in the entire subcontinent during a certain age and a certain century. And today we are reeling under the pressures of that, when we are all thinking in terms of those Eurocentric perspectives, which you see in terms of binaries in everyday life, that you look at it, man, woman. So today you say the gender spectrum has enlarged. We can't only talk in terms of man, women. There are other binaries, left and right. That is not an Asian perspective, certainly. Which is the left and which is the right? I am totally confused. There are others, there are terminologies that today have been existing, and we have been caught in that. Modernity, the biggest paradox is the paradigm of modernity, which has been actually dominating the idea of development all over the world. At the center of Hindu philosophy, I would say, at the center of Vedanta philosophy, and I would wish to say, is the idea of body, heart and mind. And I think this is the center, the heart is the center which has been absent from all the Eurocentric or other philosophies around the world. Heart is where the Sahriday of the Sadharanikaran is coming from, as I wish to see it. Emotions and heart, as Vivekananda also pointed out, Hindu philosophers also pointed out, is something that has been central to the humanistic tradition of the Hindu philosophy and Hindu philosophical tradition, which dominates the Bharatiya narrative, as I assert to call it, but for many who would want to take it to the global level, and I also from this stage, it could be Bharat Varshiya, model or perspective that we are looking at. The whole of South Asia or global South is dominated by these humanistic perspectives, and the ideas of, my dear friends, sustainable development goals were lacking, one has to agree today, in that humanistic perspective or the heart which comes from the Sadharanikaran model. The connection is through the emotions. The Western paradigms, as media and communications professor here and all over the world have joined us today, know that, emotional perspective or the elements of emotions were totally lacking in how the research has been conducted. We were caught in the binaries, as I started with, only of cause and effect in communication. But is there communication impacting only the mind? No, we are unable to come out with the answers that we are struggling with today only because that idea of emotion or heart was absent for these narratives. Not that the Asians have not been thinking about it. That it has been written throughout Hindu philosophy, and it has been carried forward from Shankaracharya to Vivekananda, even go back to Gita in Vedanta, which was later, documented in the journal of Prabuddha Bharat that Vivekananda laid the foundation of. In 19th century, somebody called a journal of Prabuddha Bharat in itself evidence of the fact that Asians were thinking and Bharatiya were leading from the top in that direction. Today, we need to, I think, assert, reassert and reimagine media and communication education from all these perspectives, and as scholars, as professors, as teachers, no more can you lay the responsibility on the past. We have to take it ahead through our research. The series of papers that are lined up in this seminar today throughout the day, and the distinguished speakers who are lined up here to speak after me is certainly going to add up to how we are all taking this epistemological responsibility, I would call it, to the global level, from the Bharatiya or Bharatvarshiya perspective to the international stage. For a scholar like Professor Nirmal Adhikari, who started it as a small little part of his PhD thesis, I think today is a celebration of Hindu philosophical tradition of 2 decades of Sadharanikaran model, and we all are here to thank you, support you, and take your word and your work forward throughout media and communications perspective. With those words, I would want to reassert again, we all need to reimagine education as we have been discussing all through these years, and there is never a tomorrow. Let's start today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Yadav.